Essays by Thomas Troward. Number 8. Mind and Hand. Egyptian Symbolism. I have before me a curious piece of ancient Egyptian symbolism. It represents the sun sending down to the earth innumerable rays, with the peculiarity that each ray terminates in a hand. This method of representing the sun is so unusual that it suggests the presence in the designer's mind of some idea rather different from those generally associated with the sun as a spiritual emblem. If I interpret the symbol rightly, it sets forth the truth, not only of the divine being as the great source of all light and all illumination, but also the correlative truth of our individual relation to that center. Each ray is terminated by a hand, and a hand is the emblem of active working. And I think it would be difficult to give a better symbolical representation of innumerable individualities, each working separately, yet all deriving their activity from a common source. The hand is at work upon the earth, and the sun, from which it is a ray, is shining in the heavens. But the connecting line shows whence all the strength and skill of hand are derived. If we look at the microcosm of our own person, we find this principle exactly reproduced. Our hand is the instrument by which all our work is done, literary, artistic, mechanical, or household. But we know that all this work is really the work of the mind, the willpower at the center of our system, which first determines what is to be done and then sets the hand to work to do it. And in the doing of it, the mind and hand become one, so that the hand is none other than the mind working. Now, transferring this analogy to the macrocosm, we see that we each stand in the same relation to the universal mind that our hand does to our individual mind. At least, that is our normal relation, and we shall never put forth our full strength except from this standpoint. Doing and being. We rightly realize our will as the center of our individuality, but we should do better to picture our individuality as an ellipse rather than a circle, a figure having two conjugate foci, two equilibrated centers of revolution rather than a single one of which is the willpower or faculty of doing, and the other the consciousness or perception of being. If we realize only one of these two centers, we shall lose both mental and moral balance. If we lose sight of that center, which is our personal will, we shall become flabby visionaries without any backbone. If in our anxiety to develop backbone we lose sight of the other center, we shall find that we have lost that which corresponds to the lungs and heart in the physical body, and that our backbone, however perfectly developed, is rapidly drying up for want of those functions which minister vitality to the whole system, and is only fit to be hung up in a museum to show what a rigid, lifeless thing the strongest vertebral column becomes when separated from the organization by which alone it can receive nourishment. We must realize the one focus of our individuality as clearly as the other, and bring both into equal power if we would develop all our powers and rise to that perfection of life which has no limits to its glorious possibilities. Many hands. Keeping the ancient Egyptian symbol before us and considering ourselves as the hand, we find that we derive all our power from an infinite center. And because it is infinite, we need never fear that we shall fail to draw to ourselves all that we require for our work, whether it be the intelligence to lay hold of the proper tool or the strength to use it. And moreover, we learn from the symbol that this central power is generic. This is the most important truth. It is the center from which all the hands proceed, and is as fully open to any one hand as to any other. Each hand is doing its separate work, and the whole of the central energy is at its disposal for its own specific purpose. The work of the central energy as such is to supply vitality to the hands, and it is they that differentiate this universal power into all the varied forms of application with their different aptitudes and opportunities suggest. One mind. We, as the hands, live and work because the central mind lives and works in us. We are one with it, and it is one with us. And so long as we keep this primal truth before us, we realize ourselves as beings of unlimited goodness and intelligence and power, and we work in the fullness of strength and confidence accordingly. But if we lose sight of the truth, we shall find that the strongest will must get exhausted at last in the unequal struggle of the individual against the universe. For if we do not recognize the central mind as a source of our vitality, we are literally fighting for our own hand, and all the other hands are against us, for we have lost the principle of connection with them. This is what must infallibly happen if we rely on nothing but our own individual willpower. But if we realize that the will is the power by which we give out, and that every giving out implies a corresponding taking in, then we shall find in the boundless ocean of central living spirit the source from which we can go on taking ad infinitum, and which thus enables us to give out to any extent we please. Mind and will. But for the wise and effective giving out, a strong and enlightened will is an absolute necessity, and therefore we do well to cultivate the will, or the active side of our nature. But we must equally cultivate the receptive side also, and when we do this rightly by seeing in the infinite mind the one source of supply, our willpower becomes intensified by the knowledge that the whole power of the infinite is present to back it up. With this continual sense of infinite power behind us, we can go calmly and steadily to the accomplishment of any purpose, however difficult, without straining or effort, knowing that it shall be achieved, not by the hand alone, but by the invincible mind that works through it. Not by might, nor by power, but my spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. End of essay.